this and that. You should get it for this reason, you shouldn't get it because of this reason, and so on and so on. The COVID-19 vaccines were recently introduced in December of 2020, and the talk about them has never stopped since. A quote I found interesting from the article, Vaccine Controversies, by James Lemons was, "Studies have found that as many as 1 in 10 parents are delaying or foregoing some or all recommended vaccines for children. This includes the COVID vaccine. I personally do not have this vaccine, and I don't require ones that are optional. Yes, there are vaccines required for public school entry and that each individual has to get." A quote from Mandating COVID-19 Vaccines by Lawrence Goswin says, "All states require childhood vaccines as a condition of school entry, which are demonstrated to maintain high coverage and prevent vaccine-preventable diseases. There are 9 total vaccines that kids have to get in Minnesota: measles, rubella, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, mumps, hepatitis B, and chickenpox. Usually you get these at a younger age, and someday doctors even possibly believe that the COVID vaccine will be added to the essential list for school entry." In my audience analysis, 1 of you said the vaccine should be mandated, 18 said it should not be, and the rest of the 5 responded with maybe. In my speech, I will provide you with information on why the COVID-19 vaccine should not be mandated, who all needs the vaccine, what are the goals of it, a time record vaccine, and the decision we can make for our individual self. First off, who needs the vaccines? In the article, A Global Survey of Potential Acceptance of a COVID-19 Vaccine by Jeffrey Laris, he writes, "People aged 24 to 52 and 55 to 56 and 65 or older were more likely to accept the vaccine than those who are aged 18 to 24. This means that usually older people will require one of the vaccines provided. One of the options is the Moderna vaccine, which is an mRNA vaccine and requires you to get 2 shots, and later you are able to acquire the booster shot. An mRNA vaccine is a messenger RNA vaccine that teaches our cells how to make a protein that will trigger an immune response inside our bodies to fight against the virus. Next is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a viral vector vaccine. This means that the vaccine uses a modified version of the virus that is different from the virus being targeted to deliver important instructions to our cells. This means that the vaccine uses this vaccine only requires 1 shot. And lastly, the Pfizer vaccine, which is also an mRNA vaccine, requires 2 shots, and later you are able to get the booster shot. They create different vaccines because there are different ingredients in each, which someone might be allergic to. Doctors are still not done modifying the vaccine, and they will be toyed around with for a long time to make them more effective. We don't know how effective they are in the long run because they have only been around for almost a year. The older people are the ones with weakened immune systems, and having the vaccine for them would fight against serious illness or death. They are the ones most likely to end up hospitalized. There are certain circumstances where someone may need the vaccine if they are also young. One reason might be an underlying health condition, or they can't afford to get sick if they end up in the hospital. Another quote from Gosson was, "Data for vaccines granted and EUA reportedly demonstrate 95% effectiveness, but even highly effective vaccines cannot curb the pandemic without high population coverage and maintenance of other mitigation strategies. This means to completely get rid of the disease means a lot of work has to be put in by the public, and even in the end, that might not work." Now I showed you the basic reasons for the vaccine, and now I will tell you the first years of it. Alan Greenwald states, "Prior to the coronavirus pandemic, no vaccine had been developed in under 4 years. A normal vaccine would usually take 10 to 15 years to make. The pandemic was first known in December of 2019, hence the name COVID-19, but the first vaccine, the Pfizer, was introduced by Food and Drug Administration in December of 2020. This graph on the screen shows the process of how the COVID-19 vaccine was created. Academic research was required. Trials were done. All the phases were combined into one. Factories were built as soon as the doctors started making the vaccine. Then they manufactured and produced the vaccines quickly, and the vaccine was approved and finally distributed to the public. The only other vaccine that was made in a record time was made in 4 years, the mumps vaccine. This is one of the childhood required vaccines also. This was made back in 1960s. It took 4 years just because they didn't have enough technology like we do today. This means little time but lots of dedication was put into vaccine. Greenbelt also states, more than a third of Americans have yet to be vaccinated. This includes fear of needles, anti-vaxxers, fear of long-term or short-term effectiveness, not enough information, and hasn't been around long enough. These were some of the reasons stated in the article of why the public chooses not to vaccinate. Most of these reasons were responded to my audience analysis when I asked why the vaccine should be mandated or why it should not be. There were some public reasons, but overall you should be able to make your own individual decision that best fits you. A quote from Lemon says, if you choose not to immunize your own child and your own child dies because they got measles, okay, that's your responsibility. But if your child gets sick and gets my child sick and my child dies, your action has harmed my child. This is why most people get the vaccine to most likely stop